And we are live. Welcome, folks, to JWC Livestream. Today, we're going to do a read from Nidhogg Chronicles. This is Nidhogg Chronicles, Crusade of Shadows by Richard Andrew Olkus. And this is chapter 5, picking up where we left off. Kayla led Nidhogg out of the sewers tunnel complex, and then Nidhogg took Kayla back to her own saucer, wondering when the collective would get wise to their antics. No longer worried about punishment either way, Nidhogg needed to know if what Kayla said was true. Could this device, an archaic psychedelic, liberate her from the relentless surveillance? She would walk over bodies to get a vacation from the telepathic collective, and likely would have to before this was over. Oh well. What was there to be done at this point but find out? That was Kayla, always causing trouble. At this moment, Nidhogg wouldn't have it any other way. She needed to get her mind off James and all that had gone so awfully wrong. Not to mention the notion of interplanetary travel, which was something seldom granted to one of her placement in the program. They were hybridizing for Earth, not space, not Mars, so her breeding restrictions had been mandated. Not anymore. Nidhogg and Kayla ascended the ramp leading onto Nidhogg's saucer, moving past the warbling grays from before and toward the command center. Following the curvature of the craft, they walked through sliding doors and presented themselves. Indrid stood near the gray controller, both of whom regarded the two hybrids curiously. Before Indrid could open his big, stupid mouth, Nidhogg lifted a slim hand to cut him off.
This is Kayla. We are to assist her.
Kayla nodded smoothly, wearing a look of forced neutrality, which masked how funny she thought it all was. Kayla's voice deepened to the octave of command as she spoke, closing the fingers of her right hand into a white-knuckled fist as she did so. Set a course for lunar orbit. At Luna's North Pole, you will find a cylinder. They're facing some technical difficulties with one of the saucers, and so need this one as a replacement. This mission is of the highest priority. As of now, I am commandeering this vessel. However, Nidhogg is still in command. I am playing the part of advisor for this special mission. Indrid and Gray Controller first looked to each other and then turned back to their commanders, nodding in bewildered compliance and struggling to confront the cloudy telepathic reception that mired their contact with the collective. Nidhogg knew them well enough to detect a hint of suspicion, but did not sense enough will between them to suggest insubordination was possible. That, of course, was the problem with a subjugated chain of command. No one possessed any extensive experience concerning disobedience, and so found it difficult, sometimes even confusing, to question orders. Not to mention that the lie that Kayla had spun for them was something likely to happen, and in truth, something which could happen at any time. Nidhogg sent a message to Indrid in order to forestall any questions he may have, not wanting him to go prying for his own answers.
Indrid, Kayla and I are going to get resuited up. I'm aware of the containment grade for my breeding status and will outfit myself. Help the crew with docking procedures when we reach the cylinder. Kayla and I are going to the observation deck to go over the mission. I will brief you on what you need to know shortly.
The last phrase did some heavy implying. Indrid would take it as a sign of his missions being classified, and so in his own slavish bubble would not likely investigate. Kayla followed Nidhogg out of the command center toward the observation deck, stepping with half a skip in her gait as the doors closed behind them. Before they knew it, the hybrids stood at the large panoramic window, watching the atmosphere brighten as they flew into a cloudy sunrise. Kayla exhaled passionately as the colored horizon faded into blackness, witnessing solar brilliance contrasting voided stars, with the beauty of both framing a gray circle. Earth's satellite came rushing up to them, growing as mile after mile went by, the scene expressing just how fast a gravity-driven saucer could travel. Kayla's voice was distant, as though she were remembering a dream previously forgotten.
That's the problem with the Great Change, Nidhogg. They want us to be like humans, but don't want to deal with the consequences of humanization. Humans disobey. Their every achievement in history and myth is the result of disobedience. So the more human we get, the more likely it is that we will resist being controlled. It almost seems as though these psychic blockheads don't get it, like they're waiting for some kind of miracle of evolution to occur. Will it be our failure when their delusions refuse to be incubated?
Nidhogg turned from the view and regarded Kayla thoughtfully, realizing that whatever this target was had indeed changed her. Kayla never spoke of such profound observations before, not to mention the many telepathic pictograms, diagrams, and blips of luminous text that flashed between them, ushering in an esoteric self-education as an explanation for why. Although she was a little sillier than before, her thoughts and intentions seemed to be aligned. Kayla's motives started to leak through the cracks of the mystery, enough where Nidhogg could guess at the meaning of it all. Kayla must have been at her wit's end, wanting answers to the questions that haunted her, and not accepting the collective's puckered propagandistic axioms that were to pass for facts. But what was it that caused this change in attitude? A midlife crisis? A nervous breakdown? A religious experience? Could it be that this target was responsible? She needed to discover all which had been concealed, having no desire to play with lies and disinformation. After a contemplative moment of silence, Nidhogg spoke to answer, but ended up just raising another question to join the legion of others that besieged them.
How can it be our failure when we were never even allowed to try? All we do is what they tell us, so any failure to be found is theirs, right?
Kayla looked at Nidhogg. As the gloom broke away from her eyes, she smiled warmly, gratefully, valuing someone who could even remotely try and understand the existential weight that bore down upon her.
Come, Nidhogg, let's get you suited up. I'm not sure of your actual reproductive status, but Indrid mustn't suspect our story until the specimens have been secured.
As Kayla helped with the special containment suit designed to keep a uterus safe from background radiation, Nidhogg spoke in a soft voice, finding herself growing mildly upset as she confronted the issue of program termination in another.
Did you hear what happened to Elra?
Kayla looked up from the vacuum fastener into Nidhogg's face.
Yes, I heard. But did you hear why?
Nidhogg replied hesitantly.
The same kind of thing that always happens, no doubt. Poor Elra fell short in some way, likely wasn't viable stock, so bye-bye. I was wanting to take a team and get to her. I told Indrid that we should eliminate her. It would have been a smokescreen, maybe, if she didn't play stupid. And I have a variety of reasons for making contact. One of those reasons was to gain inside information. It involved me concerning her and offering a way out. She would answer my questions in exchange for an off-the-record safe house out in the country, someplace where she might be able to hide for a year or two. That way I could get an inside view to what termination protocols boil down to, as well as a look at her mentality. The last month of her conduct, personal contemplations, plans, etc.
Kayla nodded and gestured for her to continue.
I was considering trying to formulate a method for repurposing terminated assets, but unless I have a network, it would be too conspicuous.
Kayla's face darkened as she seemed to catch wind of what Nidhogg was getting at.
Listen, Nidhogg, you don't have to worry about termination. I have worked out a strategy, a way around them.
Then the dawn broke on her otherwise agitated face.
But you have inspired me, yes. The idea of creating cells of terminated assets. If we use the issue target along with the device, and we were able to study the effects, as well as set up an on again, off again schedule to minimize suspicion, then maybe it can actually be done. But we will have to win over other equally valued breeders and perhaps work our way up to the top.
Nidhogg heard the seal click into place, felt the air pressurized in the suit, and hearing her own voice come over the amplified speaker.
It could be the beginnings of a revolution, a way forward.
Kayla brightened, her voice become more cheerful as they both turned to face the window.
I'm going to have to get a lot more of this stuff, the ish target. We are going to need multiple labs to verify a chemical analysis, determine the best means of delivery. I think the fungus should be vaporized, but I am no expert. Not yet, anyway. Regardless, we need to find a way for the eggheads to look at it while not knowing what they are seeing or why. Some kind of classification scam we could pull. Telepathic transference of any of this to the collective must be minimized at all costs.
As Kayla said this, the cylinder came into view, emerging from behind an overview of the lunar surface as they ascended to polar orbit. Already the primary hatch for docking was opened, waiting for them to proceed. Nidhogg transposed two-dimensional holographic on the window, seeing the face of Indrid appear thereon. Her hissing voice took on the burden of frustrations as she confronted the MIB, planning out the conversation carefully, with thought focused on all that her and Kayla might achieve together.
Indrid, you and the Grey Controller initiate docking sequence at once. Time is of the essence.
Indrid smiled coolly, looking preoccupied, not betraying any signs that his suspicions had taken root. Acknowledged. As his image faded from the window, Nidhogg and Kayla saw the saucer position itself for the autodock. A breathtaking view of the star field was soon replaced, eclipsed by a bright wall of silvery metal. Nidhogg knew that her mission saucer had just docked within an FTL cylinder, otherwise known as a cigar craft. Surface dwellers, with nothing better to do with their brief and vacuous lives, would sometimes catch glimpses of these elongated craft. Although mostly confined to deep orbital space, the cylinders did sometimes enter Earth's atmosphere, and that was where said sightings took place. When a sound of moorings clunked into place, the saucer would have automatically surrendered control. Cylinders were meant as a dry dock repair hub for saucer upkeep. Nidhogg didn't know where Kayla's saucer was, but it obviously wasn't available at the moment. Soon, what might be up to 8 saucers, each having 3 gravity amplifiers, would synchronize said amplifiers in order to deform space-time. What would normally take hours would be done almost instantaneously. Nidhogg felt a buzz pass over her nervous system as the gravity warp engaged. A blue-white to purple-red flash erupted behind her eyes. There was no going back now. Nidhogg turned to face Kayla, regarding her as if to say, "All right, we will play it your way." Kayla smiled coolly, speaking in a froggy voice half gritted by excitement.
All right, Nidhogg, give the order to deploy from the cylindrical dock. Then I will send coordinates to the Grey Controller.
She did as Kayla instructed, and again there was no sign of her crew's recognition that anything was off, nor any interjunctions from the collective. Nidhogg felt a flush of elation wash over her at the thought of Kayla's schemes actually being true. In this state of mind, she strode side by side with Kayla down to the off-ramp suit locker, wherein the latter would be prepared for their tour of the Martian surface. Soon they would score a hot commodity. Would Nidhogg's previously unimagined hopes be rewarded or dashed? And that was Nidhogg Chronicles, Crusade of Shadows, Chapter 5 by Richard Andrew Olkus. Thanks a lot for checking that out. Head over to joeswritersclub.com. Check out our author bios and our blogs. Head to joeswriters.club. Sign up for our forums. Please check out JWC on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And most importantly, please head over to YouTube. Go to JWC Livestream, Joe's Writers Club's channel on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and share with whoever you think would like the content. And there will be a link there for the purposes of purchasing the book that you've just heard a chapter read of. And if you like what you heard, it would be great. Support local authors, underground writers. That would be really, really great. Joe's Writers Club is here to help make you a different writer, because to be a better writer, that's something you have to make yourself. You have to work at it. But sometimes what JWC brings to the table we bring the difference that might be just what you need to take it to the next level. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again real soon.